to Real Estate According to Amy. This is our Kickstart series. We have talked so far about discovering and uncovering your why, and now we're going to move into, now that we have our values and our why, we're going to move into setting our goal for the year. Now, keep in mind that we should be setting our goal for the next year in the months of like October. Okay, because we generally in real estate and most businesses, in fact, have a 90-day sales cycle, which means whatever you do today, you're going to start seeing the results in 90 days. So as we move into the last quarter of the year, that October, November, December, that would be our fourth quarter, we really want to set ourselves up to be operating for a successful next year. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? So we're going to set our goals now. We're going to start implementing and moving forward with those things that we want to or need to do in order to reach those goals in that last quarter, so that it hits the ground running in January with closings and sales, because that puts us at that 90-day cycle. So come September, October every year is when you want to rethink your goals. If you're watching this and you're in June, you're a new agent, or just kind of getting started, getting restarted, it's never too late to set those goals. So, but we just need to make sure that we tweak it and keep in mind what we need for the remainder of the year so that we can set appropriate goals. It's always better to set goals based on the calendar year than on the annual year, although you could switch that up and set it based, if you're starting in June, you could do it June through the end of May. However, I recommend just setting the goal through the end of the year, plugging away, hitting it hard, and then come October, September, October, you're going to reevaluate those goals and then make decisions for that next year. This video is going to cover goals, figuring out what your goals are. And then our next video installment will be actually putting that into practice on what that looks like in an action plan. We call that a GPS or a 411, which is a goals, priorities, strategies, and then into that 411. If you want to prepare in advance for that, something to consider would be finding the book. It's called the 12-month year, or 12-week year. I'm sorry, 12-week year, where you actually reevaluate your goals every 12 weeks, which is once a quarter. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. But let's look at this. You should be able to see my spreadsheet up in front of you. If you want me to share this spreadsheet with you, feel free to comment below that you'd like the spreadsheet, or send me a message if you can with your email address. But otherwise, I'll track you down or put your, well, maybe not put your email in the comments below, but just comment below, and then I'll find a way to track you down and reach out to you and get you a copy of this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet has 3 parts. Okay, number 1, we don't want to just put the bare minimum on our goals for the year. We want to think big. We didn't get into real estate just to barely survive and live paycheck to paycheck. We wanted to thrive. We want to move our lives forward and change them for the better, whether that means replacing income so that we can quit a job, whether that means being able to go on vacation. So there's 3 parts. This top part is our think big. This is our stretch. Like, if everything else fell into line, what would we want to do here? We have this middle section as you scroll down that are personal expenses. What do you need on a monthly basis to survive? And then we have our bottom section, which is our business expenses. Sorry about that. I was just adjusting those business expenses. So we're going to start down here on the personal expenses. That's where you really kind of need to have a good idea of, number 1, what you're spending. If you haven't done a budget for your personal expenses, now would be a great time to do that. And when you do a budget, we don't just want to sit down with a piece of paper and start jotting down numbers like, oh, well, I think it would be good to spend on food $800 a month, right? That sounds great, but if you're spending currently $1,600 a month on food, you're not wanting to change your lifestyle, we probably need to have a handle of what we've been spending. So you probably need to sit down with 2 to 3 months of your bank statements and look at them. A lot of banks now, if you log in online, they actually have budget systems in there, and you can log into your bank and look back over the previous months, and it'll break down most of your expenses in the categories in which you spent them. Sometimes it's not 100% accurate if you're not going in there and tweaking it, but it'll get you a good ballpark idea. So we want to start with a ballpark If you're in a position where you're spending more money than you're making on your personal level, then we may need to adjust those numbers down. If you're spending $1,600 a month on food and restaurants and groceries, then we may need to figure out how to tweak that down to closer to 800, right? So you got to figure it out for yourself. So you're going to go in there and fill in these numbers. I'm just going to fill in a few numbers so that we have some numbers on the board. As you see here, it's going to automatically total your pre-tax amount, taxes for this amount, monthly goal with taxes, right? So it's adding it in, it's calculating out your tax rate based on this number up here. So this orange number up here. So if you're in a 25% tax bracket, I'll show you why that was higher for me. Then you tweak that and it'll automatically change that down here. Although it doesn't look like it's calculating correctly. So let me look at that real quick. Well, we'll come back to that here in a minute. I think it's doing the opposite, but that's all right. We'll figure that out. I'm going to figure out your monthly goal here, and then it's going to calculate that out into a 12-month cycle. Okay. So don't worry. If I send the spreadsheet to you, I'll get that calculation fixed because it's doing like a 75% instead of a 25%. Not a huge deal, but we'll get that fixed. For our example, though, today, we're just going to leave it as is. So you just want to continue on. You can add columns to this. So like I have pet care expenses. I have a couple of horses, some dogs, some ducks. So I spend money on those. So you just, if you've got monthly payments, now this wouldn't be like, hey, I'd really like to pay off my debt. This is like, hey, what do I have to bare minimum make on a monthly basis in order to survive? What does it cost to keep a roof over my head, the lights on, my vehicle in working order? What does that take? So you might have auto insurance, auto repairs, things like that. So fill in all of these line items in line with your personal budget. Okay, down here we have our business expenses. Here is an amount. So let's say that you have a split that you pay to your office out of each commission, or maybe you have a cap. It's easier with a cap than it is a split. So if you work off a cap system, you'd put that number in here. If you work off a split section, we're gonna run that just a little differently for you so that you can see what that's gonna entail. Or if you pay a per transaction fee, we'll also calculate that out a little bit differently. Okay. So if you have a cap, put it in here. If it's not a cap, let's not mess with that number yet. This would be if you have a team, your cost of sales. What are you paying out of your commission on a per transaction basis? So this would be something like if you have a transaction coordinator that you pay per transaction, right? That would be a cost of sale. You don't pay the transaction coordinator if the sale doesn't close. Something like photography, you're going to have to pay that photographer whether that deal closes or not. Inspections, anything like that, that's going to have to get paid whether or not the transaction closed. That does not go in a cost of sale. Cost of sale would just be things that only get paid if a transaction closes. So let's say that you're going to put something in here. Maybe you anticipate closing 2 to 3 transactions a month, and a transaction coordinator is $300 per transaction. So maybe we're going to figure out hold on. We're going to switch that to a dollar format for you and go like that. There you go. All right. Then next, salaries, payroll taxes. If you've got an admin, you pay somebody to do your bookkeeping for you, whatever that might be, something that goes into paying somebody else, that fee's going to go here. So we're just going to put in here, my cost for my assistant is going to plug in there. And notice this is per month. It's going to calculate out per year. Lead gen, what are you going to spend on lead gen on a monthly basis? Keep in mind that we don't want to totally blow the budget. If you're a newer agent, we want to lead with revenue, which means we want to be making money before we're spending a lot of money, but we do also need to realize that we do have to spend some money in order to make money. Lead gen would be things like marketing, prospecting. Are you going to print flyers for your open houses, or do you have to pay for a CRM, a contact relationship management system, a database. Are you paying any sort of money for that? That's going to go into this lead generation. Are you going to run Facebook ads, Google ads? What do you figure that's going to be per month? I'm just going to put in $500 there per month. Occupancy would be if you have like a desk rent space or a office rental, that would go under occupancy. Technology and communications, that'd be things like your phone, your computer. What kind of technology that isn't specific to lead generation do you have in order to survive? Right? So technology and communications would go in there. Education and coaching. Are you going to go to any events this year? Do you have a coach that helps you on a monthly basis or a weekly basis? Somebody that you tune into. So any sort of classes or coaching would go here. Okay. Supplies, printer ink, paper, business cards, anything like that. Although business cards might also fall under lead gen. We'll talk about that later though, when we go into agent financials, how to break those things up and where they should really go. So supplies, pens, pencils, paper, ink, your basic supplies in order to make sure you do business. It may not be a very, very big number, but always put a number in there. Your auto insurance, your auto and insurance, right? So your portion of your business expenses, again, check with your accountant on all of these things, on what's deductible or what's not deductible. But ultimately, if you have a car that you use for business, that insurance and everything might be deductible here, as well as if you have any business insurance or something to that effect. So we're just going to put a number in there. Equipment and furnishings, this would be like, hey, do I need to buy desks this year? Do I need to get a new computer? Do I need a new phone? Things like that would go under equipment and furnishings. Remember, you're going to break it down by month. So, you know, like most of the time your iPhone payment plan's like $25 a month. So just going to factor that in. Now, if you get to the bottom down here and this monthly total is smaller than 1,000, I just want you to round it up to 1,000. Okay, we're going to think big. New agents, you probably don't have a whole lot in expenses. You don't quite know what to put in there. Oftentimes your total is going to ring out less than $1,000. I would recommend that you just round it up to $1,000 there on the monthly total. It's going to take this number, multiply it by 12 for this number here, this 48,300. Okay, so I'm just plugging in some numbers here so that it's adding stuff in. Now it's going to take these numbers and it's going to add them together and it's going to put them over here on this gross commission income needed, including taxes for business, survival, and personal. Okay. Now, the reason we don't add taxes down here to this number is because these are all expenses to our business. So these are all ultimately a write-off. We don't need taxes for that portion of our income. Okay. So once you have those two sections complete, then we're going to come up here to this top section, and this is our dream section. This is, hey, where do I want to be in 5 years and what is it going to take to get there, right? We talked about our big why in the last session. If you didn't watch that, go back and watch that. Where do you want to be? Why are you doing business? And ultimately, what it comes down to is we usually are doing business to make money, okay, in some way, shape, or form. And so where do we want to be? Whether that would be like, hey, I want to change lives. Okay, well, what's it going to take for you to change lives? And we always want to look at it in, when we're talking goals, we want to think about, okay, well, 5 years from now, you know, where do I want to be, or what do I want to accomplish, so that you can break it down into, well, this year, what needs to happen, right? So if you're like, man, in 3 years, I would like to be debt free. Right? Okay, well, take all of your debt and add it up, not counting those monthly payments, right? Just take all of your debt, add it up. What do I need to pay off in principal balance of my debt in order to be debt free in 3 years? Divide it by 3, right? Then you're going to take that and you're going to down here, pay off debt. We're going to plug that number in. So maybe you have, for easy numbers, maybe you have $60,000 in debt and we want to pay it off in 3 years. That would mean we need to pay off, oops, I missed a zero, $20,000 this year in order to be on track to pay that off in 3 years. Okay. Maybe you have kids that are nearing college age, or you're thinking about having children, or at some point you want to have kids and you're like, man, when I have kids, I want to be able to send them to college, right? So maybe we need to set up a college fund. depending on how close you are to your kids' college age, maybe a different number here. What's it going to take to fund their college? Divide it by the number of years left. Or maybe you have kids in college and you want to like be able to cash flow that instead of them taking out loans or having to work their way through school. Working their way through school would be a much better option than loans. There's a little personal opinion to you. This is real estate according to Amy. So you might want to put some numbers in there. Maybe, college is a way off and you're like, man, if I just put $2,000 away this year, or let's say $5,000 away this year for college, then I'm going to be on track because my kid was just born. Okay. Maybe you've been dreaming of that new kitchen. You're like, man, I'd really like a new kitchen. My kitchen's ugly. The countertops are gross. They're dirty and dingy. You can't tell when I've actually cleaned them because they're so gross. Maybe I want a new kitchen. So maybe we're going to budget some money in for that new kitchen of your dreams there. Or maybe you just want to, and you may not have all of these on there. You may just have one or two. Maybe you want to go on vacation, right? Maybe you're like, man, I want to go to Hawaii and I need $10,000 to go to Hawaii. Or maybe you're like, man, I'd like to take the whole family to Hawaii. Or let's revamp that. I want to take the whole family to Disneyland. And I want to stay at the Disneyland, one of those Disneyland hotels, not like the Good Neighbor Hotel where you got to shuttle to the park. I want to stay in the park. And then I also would like just me and my husband to be able to go to Hawaii for a week or so, right? Maybe we have two different goals. Or maybe I want to take a bunch of mini vacations. And you're like, maybe what I need is, I think 15,000 would accomplish all of my vacation goals for the year. Right? You may be like, hey, I want to take a vacation. I want to get to a point in real estate where I can take a vacation every month and be gone 1 week out of the year. Maybe you're in a point that you could do that. Maybe you have kids that are homeschooled and you're like, man, I'd like to travel for a week, a month. To accomplish that. So you may have different goals depending on where you're at in life. Maybe you just want to travel around the world. I have a friend from South Africa and she used to, every time they'd go home, or not every time, but several times when they went home to South Africa from the United States, they would get what they called an around the world ticket, which means as long as you were tracking around the world in one direction towards your destination, you can make multiple stops, which I always thought was really cool. So you could stop as many times as you wanted to. So just some fun things there for the vacations. Maybe you have so I had family vacation and hubby vacation. So let's break that out. That Disneyland vacation is going to be really expensive. And then, right. Or maybe you're single and you just want to go on vacation with the hopes of meeting a dreamy person on the other side of the world. Totally appropriate. So anything in here, you're not stuck with these categories. You can change them up, add, take some away, change them up, whatever makes you happy, whatever is going to help you to move forward and give you momentum to move forward. Maybe you're like, I don't want a new kitchen. I just want a new dishwasher. Like if I could just buy myself a new dishwasher this year so that I don't have to keep washing the dishes twice, once for me and once when I put them in the dishwasher, that would be great, right? So anything goes here. This would just not be part of your normal business expenses, not part of your normal living expenses. These would be those things that you want to accomplish this next year. Then you're going to put in your tax rate down here at the bottom. So notice it totals up this amount and then it puts a number in here in the tax rate, calculates what that would be. And again, I don't think it's calculating it quite appropriately, so I'm gonna have to go in and fix that calculation. Now, some things to keep in mind. I do a couple other things. Number one, I tithe. So sometimes I like to add that in. If you have a percentage that you would pay out to like a split, this might be an appropriate place to put it in here. If you want to put money into like a retirement account, that's not a lump sum, that would be a percentage of your income, then so I add this here. I don't put anything down here and I just add it into the tax rate. I also have a team member that gets paid off of my split. So you could factor that in here as well as far as percentages go. Okay, I feel like this is the best place to put it, although maybe not. So if I took my let's say I'm in a 25% tax bracket, I'm going to add in tithe and retirement, which puts me at 25, 35, 45, 50% tax bracket. I'm going to live off 50% of my income. We're just going to put that in right there. Okay. Now, if let's say, okay, now we're going to come over here. We'll come back to that. So see, it calculates that out. Actually, this one's looks like it's calculating correctly at this point. I think it was backwards before, but and then it totals up what you want to make, your taxes, and then, but still not completely right. I'll still have to fix that. And then your grand total. Okay. So now it's going to take, here's your business and survival from the left side. See the tax, because I increased the tax rate and this went down. It should have gone up. So that shows me that's not calculating appropriately. It's going to take your big life goals. That's these over here on the top left-hand side, and total those up. And then it's going to give us a grand total. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to put in our average gross commission. So you're going to look at what's the average sales price for your area, that median sales price. You can get that from your office, your mentor, you can get it from your MLS oftentimes. And so let's say that the median sales price is $572,000. I'm probably going to round it down to like 550,000 is going to be the median. Okay. If you're an existing agent, you can look back at your previous sales records and look at what your average sales price was. Super simple. If you're a new agent, you really want to go off kind of the median or the average sales price for your area, or even the low sales price for your area. I'd rather err on the side of caution than aim big. If you're like, man, I'm only going to sell $1 million homes and the median sales price in your area is 550, that's a great goal. I think you can accomplish it with the right action plan in front of you, but let's just go ahead and mark our goal based on 550,000. You'll come out ahead, I promise. Okay, let's say the average sales commission is 2.5% for your area. Again, you'd have to either do some research. If you're an existing agent, you could go back through your records, see what your average commission was for both listings and buyers, what your average commission is. If you are a new agent, just look at what the average commission is and figures a new agent. Most new agents work with more buyers than sellers. And like in our area, the buyer transactions about 2.5% if we're just going off of what's offered in the MLS. So that's why I usually use 2.5%. There is ways to increase that. There's different tactics, different things that you can do, especially in the current market, being kind of more of a buyer's market, but we can talk about that later. We're just going to go equal sum of this times this. There's your average sales commission. Now, if you aren't on a percentage, if you don't have a cap system where you pay a percentage up to a certain amount, right? That we would have put down in the business expenses. If we just pay a regular percentage, you might factor that in with your tax rate over here, right? So that gets taken off the top of our total commission. You could also take it out of this. So let's say that I operate on an 80-20 split, where I keep 80%, the office keeps 20%, then we could come in here and go equal the sum of this times 80%. Oops, hold on. Apparently the percentage didn't work. 80%. Okay, so that would be 80% of 1,000 or $13,750. So average commission, $13,750. If we're on a regular split that never caps, you could calculate it off of that for your gross commission. That would be a really easy way to factor in that expense that you're going to have to pay to your office. Now, if you pay a transaction fee versus a split or a cap, then we can easily do that here. So let's say that for a transaction, the average transaction of 550,000, our transaction fee is going to be $750. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to do this. You could just go in and say, what's this minus the transaction fee? And that's going to be my average commission. Okay, so there's lots of, every office does things a little bit differently. This will help you navigate depending on how you work and how your office splits work. Okay, we're going to take whatever you determine is your average gross commission and put it over here. So I'm going to say it's 13,000 because it's a nice round number. Okay, so in order to handle my business and personal survival, bare minimum, what I need to do to pay my bills and to pay my business expenses every this next year it's going to be 13 transactions. It just simply takes this 172,500, divides it by 13,000 to pull 13 transactions. Okay. Now for big life, right? For all of these goals right here, the things that I really like to accomplish, paying off debt, setting aside money for college, getting that new kitchen, going on vacation, I need an additional 16 transactions for a total of 29 closed transactions. Okay, that calculates in my taxes, that calculates in my expenses, that calculates in like my child care, all of that is factored into this number. 29 transactions, okay, for a total income, a total gross income of 382,500. Okay, yours may be more than that, it may be less than that. There's no wrong or right answer to this, but we just want to dream big. Now, something that you may want to do before you sit down and do this exercise is you may want to sit down and do a vision board. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And you'd be like, Amy, a vision board? I know, I feel the same way. And that being said, a vision board gives you a visual representation of this big goal over here. Vacation. Where do you want to go? Let's sit down and spend some time talking with our spouse or talking with your friends that you're going to go on vacation with. What is that going to look like? Where are you going to go? How many are you going to take? How long are you going to stay there? Where does your family want to go? What home improvements do you want? Where do you want your kids to go to school, right? So whatever that looks like to you, what dishwasher did you want? Remember at some point I said, hey, not like home improvements kitchen, but maybe you just want a new dishwasher. What dishwasher do you want? Go on and look for a dishwasher. Look for a fridge. I got a new fridge this year. This was the first brand new fridge that I've ever had, right? Super exciting. I've always gotten used fridges in the past. It's not something I spend money on. I'm not an extravagant person. And there's lots of slightly used fridges out there that were fabulous. My last slightly used fridge was amazing. It was like 31 cubic feet of fridge. And when I opened the doors, angels actually sung. It was amazing. And it was used, but this time I got a new fridge. So I budgeted in for a new fridge. I also got a new washer and dryer, which was the first time I'd ever gotten a brand new washer and dryer. Again, I've always gotten used appliances. So super exciting. I'm 42 and I finally got a new fridge and a new washer and dryer. Super like random stuff that you get excited about once you get older. So maybe yours is, maybe you want a new car. Maybe you just want something better than what you have right now, right? Maybe you're like, man, I would really like a car that doesn't clank down the road, right? And that might be where you're at right now. So what car do you want? Sit down and think about it, put some effort into it and put it on a vision board. Now you don't got to go, when I hear vision board, most people are like, I got to go find magazines and cut out pictures. No. One of the best ways to do a vision board is on Canva. I don't know if you've heard of Canva or not. Oh, that's one of the things we still need to talk about is like those apps and different things that you're going to find helpful and useful as you begin your real estate career. We'll get there. Don't worry. But Canva is one of those places, canva.com, canva.com. I don't get paid by them. They should pay me because I recommend them to everybody. It's free. So there's a free version. Okay. You don't have to pay money for it. Again, lead with revenue. Wait until you've got money coming in to decide what you want to upgrade. If you upgrade to the professional Canva, what's really cool about it is once you design a logo and you have fonts and stuff and colors, you can save all that branding to your Canva and you can just pull up the branding package. Like I've got Real Estate According to Amy. I've got my real estate business in California. I have my real estate business in Idaho, and I have my cyberbacker business in Northern California. They all have different fonts and different colors. So I've got several branding packages saved in my Canva account. Makes it super simple. And as a new agent, there's no need to pay for that. Use the free version. So vision board, go in there, do a poster, right? So new, you can do a new design or a new project, find the posters, select the poster, go onto the internet. Where do you want to go on vacation? I wanted to go to Disneyland and I wanted to stay at the Disneyland Grand Resort. So I'm going to go snag a picture online of the Disneyland Hotel and the Disneyland Grand Resort, Disneyland itself, my favorite ride. I'm going to take that picture and put it in the Canva and put it on my vision board. You can add images and you can actually add, there's shapes like frames and you can add them inside those for shapes, or you can tweak them sideways, shrink them, make them larger. I should have brought a water. Anyways, so it's really cool. So you can make a vision board there. The cool thing about Canva versus cutting out magazines, so Canva is more my style. That's where I learned to love vision boards, is that on Canva, when you do a vision board, you can save the digital copy and you can put it on your desktop on your computer. You can put it on the back screen of the I don't know, the screensaver on your phone, so that you're seeing it all the time and keeping that new dishwasher front of mind, or that new car, or where you want to go on vacation. So when you've heard no for the 50th time this week, you stay motivated because you're like, man, I'm really done washing dishes by hand and I want that dishwasher. So you keep it front of mind. The first year I did a vision board, I was amazed when I got to the end of the year and all of the things on there that we had actually accomplished, because I kept it front of mind, kept it focused, and I kept plugging ahead to make those things happen. You can also take that digital poster and you can send it to like Walgreens or CVS, or I don't think Costco does printing anymore, but at the time my last one sent to Costco to have it printed and printed up like a poster so I could actually hang it on the wall in my office. So there's lots of practical applications by doing it digitally versus doing it with magazines. Now, if you're like, man, Amy, I hate that you're bashing magazines. I'm not. If that's what you love, go get some magazines, sit down with friends, have at it and do it that way. It really makes no difference to me. I'm just saying, do it, sit down and do it. Okay. So that being said, now we've figured out our goal for the year. Okay. Now, we're going to do some other calculations. I'm going to do it on a separate video. I'm going to show you how to get from this to what you actually need to put into place transaction wise. We'll do that again, but let's focus in on this number right here, 382,500. Okay. So I'm going to take it and show you how to put that into the GPS on that next video. So just kind of remember, this is where we left off, and this is where we're going to pick up on the next training. If you guys have any questions on this, I know it was a lot of information to cover, or if you want this spreadsheet, comment below in the comment section. We'll make sure we get one over to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a fabulous day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.